Hey everybody, I'm Catalina, and today we are here to talk about episode 10 of Konosuba Season 3. First things first, I've got to say it. A bear crossed with a pig has to be one of the most laugh-out-loud funny, sharp, poignant, and aptly said insults at any kind of wedding crashing situation that I have ever seen. I absolutely loved that. I laughed so hard. I had tears in my eyes. It was glorious. I have hated this fat prick, Alder, and I don't hate him because he's fat. I hate him because he's a fucking slimy piece of shit, right? But I have despised this guy for quite some time now, and to see Aqua in a disguise, as far as I could tell, saying this to his face was delicious. I just love how they took the overall concept of the wedding and how they flipped it on its head and they actually infiltrated it in disguise. It kind of makes me think of what happens in The Princess Bride, but not quite. It also was interesting to me, if you pay attention to the organ music, you can actually notice that it's deliberately off tune. Because you're not supposed to be getting into the vibe, you're not supposed to be connecting with it, you're not supposed to be cheering it on. It's disgusting, it's wrong, and it's unnatural. And they actually do a great job at capturing that aspect of it right down to the chord progression of the music as Darkness is walking down the aisle. It was perfectly exquisite. It also kind of reminded me of this part of the Mortal Kombat movie, the first one from back in the 90s. And you have Sonya Blade going, "My friends will come." And then as she says that, her friends take off hoods they've hidden and disguised themselves, which is why I'm referencing this. And they say, "We're already here." Well, the thing is, in this situation, Darkness did not, and in some ways could not, ask her friends for help. But her friends showed up anyway, and that was glorious. I don't know where we go from here, given that they are in the process of kidnapping a noblewoman and GTFOing, but it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely going to leave something for them to work with. Whether that will be next week, or whether that will be in a future season, we'll have to see. Because this show has this tendency of doing 10 episodes and an OVA. So I wonder whether we're actually going to get a resolution next week, or whether we are actually going to be left dangling on this nasty ass cliffhanger and see something else. I cannot wait to see exactly what they will do. But as much as I like the wedding crashing aspects, actually my favorite part of the episode was everything that happened between Kazuma and Megumin. That doesn't surprise anyone, does it? It sounds par for the course for me. But I really liked their interactions. I liked seeing how Kazuma at first was acting, or at least, I don't know whether he was sincerely smug or pretending to be smug and saying, "I'm not going to help until Darkness asks for help. I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that." And he's trying to make sure Megumin doesn't do something and wind up in prison or something. Which she almost does wind up. She ends up getting taken away for a few days, so that was a mess. But he ultimately breaks down as she's talking to him and is basically saying there's nothing he can do. He knows all this stuff about the scummy old bastard Alder, but there's just nothing he can do with it. There's no proof and no evidence and no way for him to intervene. I also really like how when he does finally break down and he does want to help and everything, it ties back to something that Megumin actually says earlier in the episode, because they're sitting there at a table and Megumin is like, "Damn it, Kazuma. The man I love wouldn't just be sitting here and doing nothing. A man I love would do something to help his friends. Even if it meant that he would be doing it whining and grumbling every step of the way, he'd still do it." But it's not that Kazuma doesn't want to help, we eventually find out. It's that Kazuma has succumbed to despair and to rage and to just an acceptance of the fact that he really can't do anything. Fortunately for Megumin and Kazuma and Aqua, who is trying to actually do stuff outside of Darkness's home to try and disrupt things, everybody's been trying to do something except for Kazuma, who has been very frustrated. We get the introduction of Vanir into the episode, and our demon man has a very brilliant plan overall, and he actually provides them with a way to get some money that is going to be able to help take out the debt. But I mean, we've known there's been a debt for a while. But what this episode does is it gives us an absolute deluge of information on just what that actually entailed. And it's actually all about our other characters. We have Darkness facing this terrible debt because in season 1 we had Aqua with the water and everything when they were fighting stuff. We also had the fortress thing that they fought at the end where Kazuma and Wiz work together to get rid of it with Megumin, but it ends up exploding all over Alderp's area. And we find out that all of the consequences of all this stuff end up affecting a bunch of people who are poor and stuff. They go to Alderp initially for help, and he basically tells them to pound sand. And then they go to see Darkness's family, and Darkness's family intervenes. Darkness's family also intervened on the overall fine that we accrued when we damaged things earlier in the show, and we only had to pay a little bit of it. And we had no idea about any of this, and the deal basically was that the Dustinus family could pay off the debts and everything, or that Darkness could be wed to Alderp, and basically she can pay for the debts with her body, which, ew. Even if he was pretty, it would still be ew. But given that he's repugnant, it's even more ew. Because, of course, the distinction between flirting and sexual harassment is whether or not the woman finds the guy attractive. That might sound terrible, but that's reality. So definitely ew on this. The other thing I really liked about this episode was actually when the whole thing with Veneer giving them the information was going down. He's about to start telling Kazuma stuff, and Aqua walks in and instantly sees him, uses her priest skills, and just blows him away before he can tell us anything. And then he reforms and tells us stuff, but it's like, what the hell, Aqua? I mean, you'd think at some point she'd stop doing stuff like that to him, because he's helped us time and again. I mean, yes, he's a demon. Yes, there are rules. Yes, it's entirely possible at some point he might double cross us or something, but nothing like that has happened yet. And the fact that she just continues to have this unending vendetta is hilarious. The only minor nitpick that I have about everything that's going on, and I suppose there's not much that can be done about this because this whole situation is so busy and so frantic and so time sensitive, is that we seem to have dropped the thread of the dragon chicken, which is a bummer because I thought that was so funny. I wonder whether they will actually bring that back and tie it up at some point, or whether that is a joke that has reached its conclusion and that we are done with. Anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. I liked how it was both very emotional and very funny. Again, as I said earlier, I wonder whether this is going to actually be the wrap for the season and we're going to get an OVA, or whether we're actually going to get a continuation next week that will tie this off on a more neat and complete kind of send-off for the series as we go into waiting to see whether there's going to be another season. Either way, though, I am definitely having a good time, and I would love to know what you guys thought of this episode, so feel free to drop a comment below and let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye!